Hi everyone, I wanted to do another video for frequently asked questions, so this is part 2. The first question is, why hasn't Bitcoin exchange rate risen already after the halving? As mentioned in my previous videos, the Bitcoin halving event reduces the number of Bitcoins introduced into the market by half. So we went from 25 Bitcoins per block to 12.5 Bitcoins per block. This is a clear reduction in the supply, and assuming demand doesn't change, the price is supposed to rise in order to adjust to a new equilibrium. However, demand in reality cannot be constant. In certain cases it can, but here this is a market where people are trading, selling and buying bitcoins, transacting with bitcoins, or saving it. So demand here is changing. So for Bitcoin, there's several uh, variables that affect the demand for Bitcoin, and here you have people selling Bitcoin for fiat currencies. Some are trading it for gold. And if they're trading it for gold, so whoever is selling the gold is using that Bitcoin to trade it for fiat. So eventually, a lot of these Bitcoins are entering the current financial system in return for fiat currency. So that reduces the value of Bitcoin. Now, just to come back to why we have seen this drop in the price of Bitcoin. In the last few weeks, just before halving, I noticed the network hash rate would jump just after a network difficulty adjustment, and it would it would rise and then it would drop just before the network adjustment kicks in. So I'm pretty sure some miners have figured out, okay, if we can drop and cause a drastic change in the network hashing speed, the difficulty would not rise as much and or even lower, but it's been rising. It's just it wouldn't rise as much as they add more miners, and that way they can mine more blocks at a faster speed. So instead of 10 minutes, it would be closer to 8. And that way they would hold these bitcoins, and then eventually they started selling these bitcoins to cash in around the halving. I guess they were expecting to see a rise, but that didn't help. Now you have to understand, at the same time this was happening, you had Brexit take place, which is the British referendum vote to leave the European Union. A lot of people were looking into Bitcoin and gold. Coinbase saw an 86% rise in account creation in the UK. So a lot of people were buying Bitcoins, and that drove the price up, which led to miners manipulating the network hashing speed and difficulty, and eventually that drove the price down. Do I see it rising? Yes, it will rise and to adjust to a new equilibrium, where the price should be well above $1,000 US. We have hit 1,000 Canadian, but in US dollars it should rise a lot. I am expecting that. So I still recommend holding your bitcoins. Sell as little as you can if you need to sell. So and hold as much as you can. The second question is, Coinbase is ending payment methods for Canadian customers. What should I do? Well, you see, Coinbase it's an American company, and it uses Vigogo Inc., which is a transaction company here in Canada. They're not gonna use Vigogo, as they're shutting down their services in Canada. So basically, you as a Canadian customer, you cannot send Coinbase funds or withdraw funds in Canadian funds, but you can still use Coinbase to store your Bitcoin. What I would recommend is exploring Canadian exchanges. I use and I have an account with Quadriga CX. You can also try Kraken, and I will post a link. I have a referral link that you could check out, and the link for Quadriga CX. They're based in Vancouver, British Columbia. Kraken actually bought another exchange that actually existed in Calgary, Alberta. Kraken is an American company, so the only Canadian exchange that I know is Quadriga CX. You can set up an account with them and use them to trade and withdraw Canadian funds. Their fees are very small, so I highly recommend them. Now, this third question is my Antminer S9 is showing high hardware errors when at stock or overclock speeds. At lower, when underclocked, the hardware errors almost disappear. Why is that? Well, you have to understand hardware errors are influenced by the output voltage of your power supply. The miner requires a voltage between 11.6 volts and 13 volts. Ideally, you want 12 volts going to the miner. If the power supply is supplying above or below the stated range or close to the edges, you will get hardware errors. However, what you receive should be acceptable. If you're not okay with what you're seeing, try using a different power supply. Maybe switch from 120 volts to 220 if you're using 120. You may also try reloading the firmware, but I doubt that would solve the issue. I think it's just resolving the part where you're the output voltage. Is the fourth question is the Antminer S9 profitable? Yes, I can't believe this question was asked to me by a lot of people, but you have to understand the S9 is equivalent 2.5 times an S7. So basically, an S9 is like running 2.5 S7s, and you're operating at almost the same power consumption. The S9 uses 1275 watts. The S7 uses 1293 watts. For almost the same amount of power consumption, you're getting 2.5 times the hashing speed. Yes, it is saving you space, power, and it's making more Bitcoin for you. It is profitable to operate. The only issue is that the upfront cost of purchasing the S9 is a little bit high right now, and you may want to watch the latest video I posted regarding overclocking the batch 6 S9 if you have batch 6. Question number 5. Should I buy Antminer S9 at the current pricing? Well, that depends. If you're a new miner, maybe you can buy one or two. Don't buy too many just to get into mining. Maybe I would highly recommend buying used S7s until the price of S9 drops. I'm still not buying that many S9s. I only have 2, and third is being shipped. I'm not going crazy on that. It's just mainly to experiment. If you are already mining, just take it slow like I am. Don't mass replace yet, because the price will eventually drop and you'll miss out. You're not going to be benefiting from the reduced pricing when they do start selling it wholesale. The sixth question is what ASIC technology should we expect after the current 16 nanometer chip? So for those that don't know, the Antminer S9 uses the 16 nanometer chips. However, already 14 nanometer ASIC chips exist, and they're used by BW. It's a Chinese company, and they also have their own pool. The 14 nanometer chip already exists, but it's too expensive to manufacture, and it's used in high-end processors, commercial CPU processors. The 16 nanometer chips, they're currently used in your phones, high-end phones, so it's pretty top of the line. Um, right now, IBM is experimenting. It's still in research. They just made a 7 nanometer chip. They do expect a 10 nanometer chip later this year, to be manufactured. But again, this stuff costs. So when you're talking about Chinese mining, Bitcoin mining equipment manufacturers using this technology, it's not cheap for them to just adopt. Also, you're not gaining a lot by using a 14 nanometer chip versus a 16 nanometer chip. There are minor gains as you go between 16 and 14. Um, so it's not worth it. If they do come out with 8 or 7 nanometer chip, yes. However, the manufacturing technology used to manufacture such small chips is uh, is very expensive, and you actually cannot use silicon to manufacture these chips. You have to use silicon alloys. So e- this will take a few years to become mainstream. The seventh question: why should I mine Bitcoin? Why not trade instead? Bitcoin mining is either a hobby or a business. So, if you're doing it at home, you're a hobbyist, you're interested in running the equipment to security, the network. So, trading is an option exercised by those that like to trade and can formulate and understand the technical analysis when trading. In the end, it's really a choice. If you can do both, do both. If you are not interested in mining and having the hardware running in your house or in a warehouse, you're not that technical, even though you don't need to be, you can trade. It's really a personal choice. Um, the eighth question is, why do you recommend holding gold? Well, gold is a precious metal that is rare and holds its value. It is also expensive to mine, very expensive, and everyone on earth that understands its value values it. So it's not something that can be just ignored. It's not like oil that fluctuates up and down based on uh, ridiculous forces. When investing and saving, you have to diversify your portfolio. You cannot invest really in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and fiat currencies. They're very much controlled, and there's no real value behind it. Um, so I do emphasize focus on Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Silver has been really ignored, but you have to understand that usually silver is supposed to be priced at 1/16th of the price of gold. So it's still very undervalued, just like the gold and Bitcoin, and it is expected to rise a lot, especially that Canada, U.S., and Mexico, the major producers of silver, have dropped their production of silver significantly. So eventually, you will get that rise very quickly. You can do your own research on this stuff, but if you are going to save to protect your wealth, I highly recommend all these three commodities together. That's all. So if you have other questions, guys, just comment or send me an email. You have a good day.